Let's talk about microtransactions in video games, because quite frankly, I'm sick of it. Now, when I say microtransactions, in this case, I mean specifically in single-player games. We'll talk about the shit show that is, quote-unquote, microtransactions in mobile gaming, games as a service, or pay-to-win free-to-play games some other time. And I can hear it already.
Oh, it's just a single-player game. Why do you care? It doesn't affect you.
But it does affect me. It affects all of us. Because these microtransactions are never built around the game. Rather, the game is built with these microtransactions in mind. And that leads to artificial roadblocks in video games, difficulty spikes that force the player to grind out repetitive side content or pay up. One of the more popular and recent examples of this is of course Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where the player has the option to buy experience boosts directly or gold, and if they don't, well, then go fuck yourself. You can't finish the main story unless you pay or you go back and grind out the repetitive side content. Because if you just follow the main story, you won't be high enough level to beat all the enemies that you'll encounter, because you'll do literally no fucking damage. To be honest, for me it's actually not a problem. I love grinding. I like when games are hard and force me to repeat content because it makes me feel like I earned my victory in the end. But I can still realize that this is not good game design. This shouldn't be the norm. You want to force your players to grind? Fine, save it for the hard difficulty modes. The player should always have an option to complete the game at his own pace and follow, if they choose, just the main storyline without being forced to grind or pay for progression. That doesn't mean that it has to be easy. If a player wants to focus solely on the main story, okay, it can be a little hard. Maybe he'll have to make up for it in skill. But don't make it basically impossible to follow just the main storyline, because the level advantage of the enemies is just so much higher that you do no damage anymore. Or other things of the same nature in a different genre. Dead Space 3 did a similar thing even earlier than Odyssey. The whole point of the game is overcoming your fear and pushing onwards, exploring the space station, while being afraid of these powerful enemies and aliens that are within. But in that case, what the developer allowed the player to do is to spend real money to get in-game crafting materials to build powerful weapons right off the get-go. Doesn't that sound like a brilliant fucking idea? Give the player the option to build powerful weapons so the aliens aren't even a real threat anymore. So microtransactions in single-player games bring us to this position where games are designed to annoy the player and to waste their time. Because the real goal of the developer isn't to get you engaged in the game for longer or to give you more hours to play by grinding side content. No, it's to annoy you just enough to the point where you decide, you know what? Yes, I'm gonna pay extra money to skip content. Because that content is repetitive and boring. But if confronted with these claims, what publishers and developers will say is, we added these options so that all players can enjoy our game. We realized that not everybody has that much time to spend, so we want to give them the option to skip ahead. What a time to be alive. We're buying a game so we can give the developer more money to not play the game. Isn't that great? No, it's not. If you care so much about every kind of player being able to enjoy your game, then why not make that option free? Add a fucking casual mode where you can skip all the gameplay, or cheat codes, whatever happened to those. Don't put in artificial roadblocks and throttling to force your players to spend money on a single player game that they have already bought. You want to monetize your single player games after release? Fine. Make DLC after release. Add content after release. Don't fucking build the game with the intention of forcing players to pay so they can go through the game in the first place. That is absolutely disgusting. Or what about Metal Gear Survive? A $40 supposedly single player / co-op game that forces you to always be online and then makes you pay $10 fucking on top of the $40 price for additional character slots. You know where paying for additional character slots is maybe acceptable? In free-to-play MMOs. And even they aren't scummy enough to do that most of the time. Have some fucking self-respect, game developers. This is pathetic. And don't for a second think I forgot about you, Shadow of War. I see you lurking in the corner. We'll talk about you once we cover the dumpster fire that is loot boxes. Well, that's just about it for microtransactions in single-player games for today. Let's tackle the other ones another time. Or hey, let's talk about Day 1 DLC. Anyways, as always, this is Evolutionz signing out, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.